Imagine going to a park with your child on a fine afternoon to have a good time, only to realize that your child has been abducted in a second of distraction. Thoughts of human trafficking, Ashton Kutcher, and the troubled bureaucracy your local police has to go through to maybe find your child race through your head in split seconds. You realize that the best chance your child has is your own intervention. Well, in this video, you guessed it, we follow the nerve-wracking journey of a mother who enters a mad car chase to rescue her child, look at the mistakes she makes, and figure out better ways on how to beat the kidnappers in Kidnap 2017. Let's go. Karla is a single mother who works a dead-end job to support herself and her 6-year-old son Frankie. Today, after her shift comes to an end, she picks up her son and drives to a nearby park. While on the road, she plays games with her son, indicating that she loves him very much. So much, in fact, that she completely neglects the traffic and literally risks their lives by being completely distracted. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what is called subtle foreshadowing. Fortunately, nothing happens yet, and Karla, without causing any accidents, reaches a park with her son. Now, having kids is not an easy feat and can be overwhelming at times, and parents are only human too. It is impossible to keep an eye on your kids 24/7, and that is why someone, at some point in history, invented something that is also known as raising your child. You see, Frankie is 6 years old, no doubt a child, yet soon old enough to understand basic dangers and the respective behaviors to avoid them. Not distracting your mother while she is driving would be one of those things. The way I see it, she has 3 ways to respond here. First, shut him up by threatening him to drop him out in the middle of nowhere if he doesn't stop talking, just like my mother did. Worked like a charm. Second, ignore him, focus on the streets and don't let yourself be distracted by a 6-year-old. Or 3, get a pair of noise-cancelling headphones. What is worse, a screaming child in the back or not being able to hear at all. Once they arrive, Karla receives a phone call from her attorney and leaves her son back, alone. Needless to say that this is not a good idea. You could either postpone the call or make the call while keeping an eye on your child. While she is busy arguing with her attorney about how to stop her ex-husband from taking her son away, ironically, a complete stranger does exactly that, kidnapping her son. Great parenting right there. So once her son is nowhere to be found, it soon dawns on her that he has been kidnapped. Now, after frantically searching for him, obviously, she checks out the parking lot and sees that her boy is being kidnapped by a strange-looking woman who forcefully pushes Frankie into a green Mustang. She runs to the kidnapper's car, clinches to the side, but falls off. Unfortunately, during this stunt, her phone drops out of her pocket and breaks. While all of this is very plausible, there were definitely a few things she could have done better. Now, firstly, you might not be equipped to deal with those criminals, and in an attempt to handle them yourself, you may end up hurting yourself or even worse, your child who is in their hands. So obviously 911 is the way to go at first. Think about it. You know how their car looks like, the area you guys are in, and have even enough time to hop into your own car and continue the chase. Now, normally I suggest to stay collected and calm whenever you call the police, because that's what they want you to do, right? Stay calm, madam, stay calm. Stay calm, yes, breathe with me, right? But there is no time for that right now. So the opening line that I would use here would be, my son has been abducted in front of my eyes and is being taken away by a greenish Mustang. Our location is such and such, and they are driving into the direction of this and that. My closing line would be, I am chasing them. Boom. That is when I would hang up the phone, storm over to my own car, and chase those down the street. There is no doubt that the police would try to reach out to you again, but ignore the first call, because they can't ignore your previous call. They will inevitably notify the police patrols in your vicinity, and be it only to keep an eye open, right? Now you have dozens of professionals looking out for the car that you are chasing, and a car chase by any means isn't low-key to begin with. So there is a great chance that you will be aided by law enforcement in no time. Now, since Karla's rash action caused her phone to break, this is not an option anymore. So, without her phone, she decides to take the matter into her own hands and follows them herself. After a few minutes, both cars get stuck at an intersection. Here, our character commits the next mistake. She leaves her car and starts banging at the Mustang and other cars violently to alert the people around. Now, in my humble opinion, pointing at the kidnappers and frantically screaming that they have kidnapped my child is a better solution than to assault potential supporters. But that's just me. Also, the kidnappers will hardly let the son go if you ask for it, right? I mean, that doesn't make much sense if you ask me. I see it this way. Either they want money, which I think there's better ways on how to get a lot of money other than kidnapping an innocent child, or they are into, different types of crimes, which would be way worse. So sooner rather than later, she is back in her car continuing the chase. But this time, she seems to cause a lot of accidents with other cars. Now, I was ignoring most of the wrong moves she has made up until this point, thinking, well, she is a desperate mom wanting to save her child, but this is pretty reckless, not gonna lie. I understand that your child's life is important, but you can't just risk other people's lives while saving your son's. At this point, the kidnappers have had enough of her as well and start throwing random objects into her way, like Donkey Kong. Very creative, guys. While trying to avoid these objects, including a spare tire that is being thrown out, they don't seem to think much ahead either. She causes another major accident, but this time, it seems like the people inside the other car are genuinely hurt. Now, Karla is clearly stressed out, right? And I am not saying this because her son has been abducted. She has been stressed out even before today. It almost feels like we are looking at an overheating piece of electronic that spirals out of control. But because her stress level is clearly insufficient, the kidnappers decide to put a knife on Frankie's throat and signal her to stop the chase. She does listen for a second, but then again continues with her hunt. Now, I would do the same thing as her, okay? I mean, these people kidnapped the child. Nobody does that unless they got a rock-solid plan. Killing Frankie will not benefit them in any way, and Karla seems to understand that. So we gotta give her props for looking through the bluff. What is not so good, on the other hand, is that only now she realizes that it would be a good idea to note down the color and model of their car, which is literally just 3 words.
Green, hatchback, Ford, old 80s.
As she can't find anything to write it down on though, she decides to record it on Frankie's toy, which also seems to have recorded the conversation between him and the kidnappers.
She's looking for you. She's telling everyone she's looking for a little boy named Frankie. You think that's you?
Pretty convenient, if you ask me, but yo, this is Hollywood. She comes to know that one of the kidnappers' name is Margot, which is a huge step forward yet useless unless you decide to hit up the cops, which she can't because she ain't got no phone, and probably shouldn't do because there is still a chance for her to do the job herself. Now, after all these accidents, an officer finally arrives. He tells Karla to pull over, completely neglecting the car she chases. However, Karla is in no mood to slow down, let alone explain the situation, which, let's be honest, would not be any rocket science. You could literally just stutter the words "Green Mustang, my child, kidnapped," and the guy would get it. And if not, well, screw him, but he's a cop, you're chasing a car, you're stressed out, I mean, obviously there's something going on, right? But because she can't seem to use the officer to her advantage, the enemies slam his bike and take him out themselves. Now, since this woman is clearly not going to stop, the kidnappers thought, hey, maybe we should stop this madness ourselves. So they pull over their car, for no reason, and Karla, for no reason either whatsoever, follows suit, which is not the most intuitive thing if we're honest. I mean, in the car she was somewhat safe, not to speak of the disadvantage if they continued escaping while she's outside. Now, one of the kidnappers runs towards her with a knife, but she responds quickly by getting back into her car and attempts to drive him over. Clearly, she should have hit him but decided against it. In my opinion, it would go under self-defense. Also, with hurting him but not killing him, she would gain some leverage to exchange him for her son. However, she doesn't. Instead, she misses him, gets out of her car again, and offers them some money. Believing this is the right way to go, she tosses her wallet to him, hoping this is the end of this story. Obviously, it's not. Now, the woman whose name is Margot comes to Karla's car and asks her to give them $10,000 in return for the kid, which is kind of ridiculous because why would you go through all this for just $10,000? Literally just, I don't know, hijack an ATM in the countryside 40 minutes away from the next police station and you're good, right? But this is, well, I mean, quite risky if you ask me. Now, she orders her to open the car so she can ride with her and follow her partner. Now, that is a dodgy request as well, but could be turned around if you ask me. However, personally, I wouldn't let that chick ride with me before making sure she isn't about to place a bullet in my head. Now, Karla, together with Margot, follows the Mustang, which leads her to a dark tunnel. Here, Margot attacks our character, but is overpowered and thrown out of the car. Don't mess around with the mother whose child you've stolen, my friends. Now, she ignores Margot and continues to follow the Mustang, giving the man the impression that Margot is still on board. Which is a good move, but you could do it better. I mean, you could one of the partners lying vulnerable on the road. Just drive the car over her leg, right? Break it, pull her back into the car, and have leverage to exchange her for the kid. Or even better, take her to the police. But Karla is so determined to save her child on her own that she follows the car. But not everyone is as reckless as her. Because the other man, the partner, eventually figures out that Margot isn't in the car anymore, so he threatens to drop Frankie out of his car. This obviously forces her to slow the pursuit. She loses the kidnapper for a while, only to spot the Mustang again after it has been in an accident. Apparently, the kidnapper ran away from the site with her son. At this point, Karla sees no other way other than to finally go to the police. There, the officer tells her to wait, but then she sees a bunch of pictures of missing children on the wall, some of which have yet to be found, even though they went missing months ago, if not years ago. This triggers her, for obvious reasons, and she suddenly goes back to take things into her own hands, because obviously the professionals are amateurs compared to her, according to this movie at least. Now, I understand how she feels at this point, right? I mean, I've never lost a kid yet, but it must be frustrating to visit the police station while being asked to fill out forms that are then tossed into a folder only to be waiting to be digitalized at a later point. In Karla's case, her son has been abducted only a few hours ago max. The case is still hot, so in her eyes, there is still a chance to rescue her child, but the only way to do that is by acting right now, something the police apparently can't do. And fair enough, man. I mean, try acting differently than her in her stead. So now, as you guessed it, she leaps back into her car and tries picking up the route of Frankie and his kidnappers, which, realistically speaking, would be close to impossible. But not today. Nope. Today, luck is on Karla's side, as she spots the kidnapper and her son in a stolen Volvo. And with that, the hunt starts anew. She even causes a few new accidents on her journey, and yet again, the police is nowhere to be seen. Anyways, she finally runs out of fuel while chasing the kidnapper, but then spots an authority to hitch a ride. That is only until the kidnappers decide to ram their car, killing the officer and knocking her unconscious. When she slowly comes back to her senses again, she spots the Volvo, but without Frankie in it. The kidnapper tries to kill her, but she gets into the car and somehow manages to drag the kidnapper into the woods where she can kill him instead. I mean, why not? Now, Karla finds the address of the man and drives over, assuming her son will be there. If that is true, then it means this dude is a complete moron. I mean, after the crash with the officer's vehicle, the kidnapper must have taken Frankie home and then went back again to kill her. That would be the dumbest move you could do. Why would you come back for her when you make it back to the safe zone, right? Now, with this mind-blowing strategy, this man bags the award for the most incompetent kidnapper in the world. And truly, Karla finally reaches the kidnapper's house and finds her son. To her surprise, there are 2 more abducted girls held captive as well. At the same time, Margot, the other chick, reaches the house too. Our character swiftly escapes but leaves the 2 girls behind. Karla promises them that she will come back again. On one hand, that's pretty selfish if you ask me. On the other, escaping with 3 kids at once is pretty risky and lowers the chance for anyone to escape. So let's see what happens next. Nearby a lake, the final showdown takes place. Margot sends her dog onto them, which they can evade by diving into the lake. Now multiple uninteresting things happen until Karla pulls Margot into the water and stabs her to death. Like she was the villain in this movie. Now our Wonder Woman goes back to the barn to rescue the two other girls, but is surprised by a man who claims to be Margot's neighbor and pretends to know nothing about what's going on. The man doesn't believe Karla until he sees the kids. However, he slips and mentions the girls in another context before seeing them, proving that she is obviously involved. This rings a bell, and bam, she hits him with a shovel and kills him too. Let's go. In the end, her reckless journey, involving countless accidents and a few deaths, earn her an award because she has broken up an international child trafficking ring in the end. Well, good on her, but a little out there for me. Love Halle Berry and the premise of what a mother, or for that matter a father, would go through to rescue their child. Let's be honest, she just went for it and succeeded, and that deserves praise, I guess. With that said, thanks for watching guys, catch you guys again soon, peace out, and binge another one.